Welcome back to another episode of For the Record, the 7th episode in our new little
it's the
podcast
8th, I think,
series.
isn't it? Either that or my notes are wrong.
Well, I don't know. I'll find out in post when I look at the previous one. But anyway, on set here, of course, myself, Matt Rebel, Communications Director. To my left, or your right, if you're viewing this on YouTube, Senator Brian Pettyjohn.
Hey there.
And then to his left, but also right, even further right, we're just,
over here.
We're off the rails.
The important person.
Yeah, Deanna Killen, our Chief of Staff.
Yeah.
I'm over here today.
She's the one that tells everybody what to do around here anyway.
And nobody listens, so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm willing to listen to what we're going to talk about on this episode. Deanna, what we got?
Nice segue there, Matt.
Yeah.
Well, we'll start off with HB 116 because we talked about that before. It was heard in House Committee yesterday and was voted out along party lines. So this is the one that basically creates that low income. It allows the Public Service Commission to create a 20% discount on low income electric bills.
Okay.
And basically that rate is going to be,
And who pays for that?
we do.
Everybody else.
Everybody else,
Yeah.
yes.
Now, wait, is that just Delmarva customers, or is it?
It is just Delmarva because it's only electric companies that are regulated by
By the PSA.
yes, and Delmarva Power is the only one that
Okay, great. So, yeah, that's just another subsidy that's being paid by everybody else.
yeah.
Yeah.
Representative Pulaski and Representative Postles made some good arguments in committee. Of course, they were completely dismissed, and we constantly hear this theme. We hear it in our committee meetings too. Oh, it's only $10 or $20. It's not a big deal. But when you keep adding this up on all of these different programs, it is a big deal. So this money will basically be added. I guess there's already like an existing low income line on electric bills right now.
There is, yeah.
That shows how much money you're paying towards it. So this will be added to that to make that even larger.
And they're saying how much per bill?
Well,
About?
they don't really know.
Oh, they don't know?
They don't know. Well, they
So-
said they're talking like it's minimal. That's kind of what they're saying, minimal.
What's minimal to them?
Yeah. And I don't know how you can know because it's going to be a 20% discount. I mean, 20% discount of how much? Electric bills vary. You have electric bills on the low end, what, $150? And some of the electric bills we're seeing from Delaware Electric are like very, very high.
Mm-hmm.
So 20% of that, that's a pretty good number.
And when we're talking about at the kind of the peak of what these electric bills were during the winter months, I mean, some people were paying well over $1,000.
Yeah.
So
it
wait.
was insane.
Hold on, let me back up. 20%.
20% discount.
Oh, 20% discount. What do you mean by discount?
So, okay, this is exactly what the sponsor said yesterday because that question was asked. She said, well, it's 20%, so a $100 electric bill would have a $20 discount.
Okay. So the discount is going to the people that are enrolled in the program.
Correct.
Okay. So, but we don't know how much it's going to cost a ratepayer that's
Right.
paying into it.
Right. And I don't know how you would know that because the first...
Is it a percentage? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. I'm used to it. That's a private joke. Sorry. Yes, we have no way to know yet because it's going to be 20% of all of the whoever is eligible. It's going to be 20% of those bills. So all that will be added together, and then that will be sent out to everyone else to cover that cost.
So we got to pass a bill without knowing how much it's going to cost
Yes,
people.
and that was actually pretty much what Representative Pulaski said. You're asking me to pass a bill, and you really don't have any facts about the bill. What am I supposed to tell my constituents?
That's unbelievable. Well, I'm going to say it's unbelievable. It is believable in this building.
Yeah, so I had noticed one of the advocacy organizations on social media had obviously came out and supported this piece of legislation. I thought it was pretty interesting that they said this was needed because of the increasingly high utility rates. But what I found ironic is that this particular advocacy organization has been advocating for the very policies that have led to these increasingly high utility rates. But I just found that to be quite ironic.
Yeah.
That's why we need this, as opposed to looking for solutions to lower energy costs and instead of advocating for such. So it's been proven to do so.
I just wonder, from the federal side, some of the changes that are happening with the permitting that's going on the federal side, if that will lead to, I guess, lower cost for the natural gas and some of the other things that are being used to power a lot of the generation, the electric generating stations now. So,
Yeah,
I mean, that might help some of the cost pressures as well. But, we'll see what happens because I'm sure some of the actions the federal governments are doing to try to lower cost are being I don't know, challenged in court, but who knows?
Yep.
Okay.
So, like I said, this should be voted on in the House shortly since it's been voted out of committee. We'll see how it goes. I fully expect the bill to pass, and we'll just see how much this adds to everyone else's bills.
Okay. What
And
else we got?
on that subject, we did just send around for co-sponsorship today a bill that Senator Hocker is sponsoring and Representative Shoup that will actually give electric ratepayers a rebate.
Okay.
Because right now they're paying into something called RGGI, which is the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. So it's basically going to give that money back to the ratepayers. And right now the money that's in RGGI, so that money goes for like winterization and things like that. And I even think it goes a little bit to help some of the low-income
I
households.
think it was good, part of the LIHEAP.
Yes.
Low
Yeah,
income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever, it does keep that money static. So there will still be money in that account, but anything that exceeds that will be going back to the ratepayers. New Hampshire does this. We actually spoke to the head of New Hampshire Energy Department. He was very helpful, and so it's
Okay.
kind of modeled after that legislation.
That's good.
So we'll see how that goes, but it was sent out for co-sponsorship today.
So that's a piece of legislation that would help every ratepayer.
Yes.
Without having to increase essentially the rates of
Yeah.
middle and
Right.
income households. Very good.
It would help
And-
small businesses as well because
Yeah.
they're eligible.
Yeah, and everybody pays into RGGI. Actually, RGGI is paid by the energy producers, the power plants, right? Yeah, so whether you're on the co-op, whether you're on Delmarva Power, whether you're on one of the municipals,
Yes.
all that would be there. Okay.
Right, and that rebate would go to every ratepayer regardless of who your
Okay.
electric carrier is.
Yeah, put me on there.
Huh? Okay.
Put me on.
All right,
Okay.
I will. We
All
sent
right.
it out today. We'll add you.
Okay.
And then, of course, on this same theme, your bill to rules that would restrict DNREC from banning gas-powered
Oh, yeah.
vehicles.
Senate Bill
Senate Bill
140.
Yes, that has
Yes.
a number now, SB
Yes.
140.
Yeah.
We have made a request to have that bill heard in committee on June 12th.
Okay.
So,
And look, with all of the action that's going on between DC, between what the governor is saying, and still we go back to what 93.5% of the comments that came in when this regulation was pushed out were against it.
Yeah.
And yeah, they made some changes, but they still put it in. I mean, it is wildly unpopular. We even had comments from people that had electric cars saying, "Oh, I love my electric car, but that's not for everybody."
Right.
And we should trust the people that actually drive them to say, yeah, we realize, okay, it's good for us, but it might not be good for my neighbor. But we're trying to force it on to everybody anyway.
right,
So,
that's the theme here. We know better than you.
yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned the high percentage of Delaware voters that reached out and said to DNREC and oppose this. Shortly after the new and updated regulation was announced, I think we can publicly say this, didn't the former DNREC secretary call you and congratulate you on the Republican win?
He said
In a probably
that
snarky manner.
He said that I should just take the win.
Is that what it
Yeah,
was?
that's what
Okay.
he told me. He said, we're backing it down. We're going to discontinue it once the year after it hits the highest mark. So you should just take the win and not keep on with this push to override his regulation.
Even though a win would have just been not doing it.
Right.
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 Yeah.
Right.
Going along with well over 90% of the voters in Delaware.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would any Democrats sign on to that bill as co-sponsors?
I don't
I don't
No,
recall off the
I
top
don't
of my
recall.
head.
No.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
curious to see if it gets bipartisan support or not.
Mhm.
So this is a little drama that's going on in the House. It's been all over the news, so I thought we'd just talk about it. Teacher certifications.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which what we were saying? How many teachers were not didn't
More
have the
than
proper-
450 educators statewide. 4% of the state's public school teachers.
4%?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
450 educator. And I think some of the drama is because one of the representatives who sits on the House Education Committee is a teacher, and she did not have her,
Really?
I guess, updated
Sat on.
certification.
Do tell.
Sat
By the
on,
way,
yes.
sat on.
Do tell.
I'll let Matt take this because he's been reading me the reports today.
Oh, okay. So, to catch everybody up, like Deanna said, that report came out that what was it again? 4%.
454%, yeah.
Yeah, so a large number of teachers in Delaware.
think the
just
only
hadn't kept
school
up with
that-
certifications.
The only school that did not have any that this did not apply to was Delmar. Every other school in the state,
interesting.
yeah, I thought that was interesting. And the other state had at least one teacher that did not have
Okay.
proper certifications.
Well, anyway, Representative Sheree Moore is a public educator who apparently at the time of that report coming out had not kept up with her certification. I think she has since gone through
That
that.
is correct.
She is recertified.
That's
So
correct.
I think right now she's good to go. But there was a piece of legislation that I'm admittedly not sure what it did, but it was heard in the Senate Education Committee, House Education Committee that centered around this. And according to the speaker, I guess Representative Moore had authored an amendment to that bill that would have benefited her in this manner, and I guess would have brought her into earlier compliance as far as the certification process. So the speaker on the 13th, May 13th, sent a one-sentence email letter to Representative Moore notifying her that she had been stripped of her co-chair duties on the Education Committee.
I think removed
Actually,
from the
just
committee
straight
altogether.
up removed from the committee.
Right.
To which Representative Moore then put out her own statement saying she was, of course, in compliance now. Kind of did not reference the amendment drama.
Of course.
But
yeah, and
here we are.
The statement that Speaker Minor Brown put out did say that during an April 9th House Education Committee hearing that I guess she was asked a question about this, and she denied that the issue pertained to her even when directly being questioned.
Yeah, that's definitely a conflict.
And what date was that?
April 9th.
Well, I think in all technicality she was brought up to compliance on April 7th, I believe.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then technically that wouldn't be a lie.
Technically, but
yeah. So anyway, there's a
I
little
could have
back
those
and
dates
forth.
wrong, so I just want to put out that disclaimer. But I seem to recall seeing in it was either Representative Moore's response or one of the news pieces that said April 7th.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you think about high need schools and students that need special, teachers who have special and specific training. That's a big deal if they're lacking or lagging in those certification process that they need to teach these subjects. It's it's a big deal.
And I asked my wife, who's a teacher, and she said it is not hard to get research. It's literally you just go on a website and you just click it.
Okay.
And she said most of the time your admin or your teacher union representatives within your school are putting out constant email notifications and stuff to the staff saying, hey, just a heads up, this is coming up, you need to recertify. So,
Yeah, so that's a little interesting drama going on. But, on the subject of education, SB 48, Senator Sturgeon's bill that was relating to disorderly conduct, it passed the Senate last week.
Okay.
The reason I'm bringing this up is just because I found the conversation very interesting. This bill had been brought up before, and there were a lot of Democrats who didn't want to vote for it. But apparently, from then till now, I guess they have been shown video of, very disturbing incidents that have happened where parents have come onto the bus cursing and making a scene, scaring the kids. People that have actually put their vehicle in front of the bus and not let the bus move.
Oh, wow.
So a couple of the senators basically said, I was never for this before, but after I saw the video of what was happening, it really woke me up, which immediately popped into my mind, which is a question I would kind of like to maybe engage with the educators. I don't know if we can, put this out to educators and ask, how do you feel about cameras in the classroom? If it's actual video that changed the minds of these senators, we're hearing how terrible behavior has become in the classrooms and how some of these students are so disruptive. I'd kind of like to know from educators, what are your thoughts? Do you support it? Do you think it would help? Do you think it would hurt? I would just like to know that. How do you feel? I'd like to start that conversation because that has been brought up before about cameras in the classroom.
Yeah. I mean, it's, once we get out of session, that might not be a bad topic for one of our podcasts is to have a teacher come on and talk about what they would like to see in the classroom, what it's really like in a classroom right now, what they're experiencing, things like that. But, I know, I don't know, that's an interesting question because, I mean, you want that there. You just, I don't think you would want that video used for any other purpose, but, if there was a problem there, something happening. So, in terms of storing the data and, the privacy of the students and things like that, those things have to be looked at. But that might not be a bad discussion to have with some of the educators and find out what they think, both some of the ones that are part of DSEA and not DSEA, to see if there's a divide between the unionized teachers that we have in Delaware and the large number of non-unionized we have as well.
Yeah. because we hear that a lot. And Senator Buxton definitely heard from a lot of teachers. Being a former teacher, a lot of teachers just naturally reach out to him. And that's kind of what they say is there's, the classrooms are so disruptive, we can't teach the kids who want to learn. So, like I said, if a video changed people's minds on the bus disorderly conduct bill, maybe it would change their mind on some of the behavior issues going on in the classrooms. So, another topic, HB 35. This is the first leg of a constitutional amendment to prohibit the use of the death penalty. This is Representative Lynn. Now, we might have some interesting debate on this topic because I don't know that we all agree on this. I think I know where you stand.
I'll let my bosses talk first and then I'll interject.
It was voted out of House Administration Committee on March 19th, but I haven't seen it on the agenda yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that will go because I'm pretty sure there's probably some Democrats over there that are pro-death penalty over there.
You are correct. Yes.
So I'm not even sure if it's going to make it over here to the Senate.
Yeah.
No, I'm for the death penalty. I had to kind of live through what happened in Georgetown when Chad Spicer was murdered.
Yeah.
And his killer was sentenced to death, and that ended up getting overturned by the Delaware Supreme Court. But the community at large, even prior to that, I think, was very supportive of the death penalty for these extreme cases. I know that there's argument that the death penalty has been unfairly applied in the past, especially the cases where you didn't have like physical evidence. It was a lot of hearsay, eyewitnesses, which can tend sometimes to be not as reliable. But with forensic science the way it is now, if things are as solid as they can be, I'm all for the death penalty.
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, I think in extreme cases like that, I would agree. But I think that there are so many cases that have happened where they have been overturned. I think up to date, there's been 38 individuals sentenced to death that have been exonerated by DNA evidence. And that doesn't include wrongful convictions and, cases that have been overturned from other factors. So to me, I think I think it's just hard because there's so many innocent people that get caught up in this. And so for me, that's why I just have a really tough time with the death penalty. I don't think I'm a supporter.
That number 38, was that nationwide or was that?
Yes, nationwide.
Okay.
No, I follow the Innocence Project. I don't know if anyone else. I really love them. They do a lot of good work, and that was their statistic.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in the middle.
As the United States.
Yeah, right. So I'm more in the middle on this. I think probably it's just I don't want to say a blanket practice, but I don't agree with the death penalty. And but however, in the case of say a law enforcement officer or something like you said, a very extreme circumstance where it's on video or there's just concrete evidence, irrefutable. I think in that case I'm supportive, but absent of that, and Senator Buxton, I believe, a year or two ago actually had a piece of legislation that would have brought back the death penalty. In those extreme, no questions asked, like there's just 100% evidence, a bunch of people saw it type situation. So that's actually where I land on it. But
and I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, the last statistic I heard, I do think it's about a 50-50 issue in our country.
It is.
It's about right down the middle.
Yep. And I remember Senator Lopez was, when he was here, he was staunchly opposed to the death penalty.
Senator Simpson was as well. Him and I had a lot of conversations about that.
Yep. So, I mean, like I said, there's Democrats that support it, there's Democrats that oppose it, and then the same on the Republican side. So a lot of it comes down to, your personal experiences and things like that. But, for me, I'm, look, I think, you're saying extreme circumstances, but when do you draw the line between like a law enforcement officer or a child that was brutally murdered, or
like
assaulted
a school
and murdered, or a school shooting, right? Where do you draw that line? If you say some people's lives are worth the death penalty and others aren't, that's kind of where you get in that decision. Was a police officer's life more important or worth more than somebody else's?
Matt.
I mean, it's a fair question. It's a fair thing to ask, but I think that's where I would fall. That there has to be irrefutable evidence.
Exactly. Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, there just has to be a very high bar that has to be crossed. Now, wasn't there a piece of legislation last year that dealt with this? I don't remember if it was a constitutional amendment or was it just a general bill.
It was
that
a
dealt
general
with-
bill
okay.
to bring back the death penalty. Well, it was one. Remember, Representative Smick always did the extreme violence.
Yeah, that's the one that Buxton introduced.
No,
last
but I
year,
thought
too.
there was one that Senator Brown actually voted against. He voted with us on, or most of us. I think.
Yes, there was.
I believe
that
it was
that was taking the death penalty statute off the books.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's two things. One, and that passed. So the death penalty is not part of Delaware law now, but it's still allowed by the Constitution. So the bill over in the House is putting a prohibition to the death penalty in the Constitution. So we can't codify a death penalty again without another constitutional change.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked about DENREC fees, proposed fees. We talked about them a couple times. We did finally get a paper spreadsheet of all of the fees, which are insane. There are 48 new fees in this.
These are new fees, not
New fees, yes. If you see the green here, all the green are new fees.
Okay.
A lot of these proposed increases are tripling, even more. Their, of course, argument is, a lot of these fees haven't been increased since the 1990s. And that's fine, but what is that saying? Lack of planning on your part doesn't...
Lack of planning on your part doesn't constitute an emergency on mine.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of how the municipalities feel, because I'm on an email chain that this was shared with municipalities, and it's really interesting seeing the responses we're getting. Some of the... Actually, I think I've heard from about 4 or 5 towns now, but they said they understand the need for the increase, but they said that they're using the word astronomical. Like one fee...
Went from $350 or
$375 to like $20,000.
Yeah, well, I think the $300 was for a 30-year permit.
Yes, and this now it's $20,000 annually.
a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
So actually, really ends up being 40 because I think one of the changes they said, it's $20,000 for this permit we had, plus we have to get another permit, which is $20,000
Yeah.
a year. So
It ended up being a total of $40,000. It was for the MPDES or MPES.
NDP.
Yeah, something like
something.
that.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So, but they said it was basically going to add right off the top $40,000 to their budget. Well, that has to be passed down to all the people that live within those town limits. It's just
Or use the services. So if
Or
it's
use the
for
services.
water, because there's
Yep.
some towns that have water service that's outside the town as well. But it still has to be. It's still going to the taxpayers or the ratepayers.
Yep, absolutely. And a
That
lot
was
of
an increase from what?
From $350 or 300
It was
something
$375.
$375 for a 30-year permit to $20,000 a year.
I mean, that's insane.
That's actually insane.
Yeah, that is
They should
insane.
put that together.
Yeah, and just like a couple other ones like that.
I don't know,
are
but did they change that? Did they change? Because I know that was in the original.
Like,
Yeah,
I just can't
I
imagine sitting there and be
I
like, I
compared
got
that.
a great
You
idea.
did. Okay.
This is going to go over really well.
Yeah, this will work out real well for us.
That'll make people happy.
Yeah, so like
Well,
just
but
light
here,
and casual.
here's what's going to happen. Okay, well, we won't charge you the $20,000 a year. We'll take it down to $5,000 a year,
Yeah.
and they'll be like, "Oh, thank you. That's great."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're still getting $5,000 more a year versus $350 for 30 years. It's still going to have to be passed on, but because they're going to cut it and then cut it by 75%, they're going to make it seem like to the towns, "Oh, that's great. Thank you so much."
Yeah, and it says sediment and stormwater plan review, which that affects anyone who's building a home or
Yeah.
really doing any kind of thing. It says it's going from $80 an acre to $975 an acre.
Wow.
Yeah. Like these increases, as you can see, they're crazy. And the ones highlighted are the ones that directly impact homeowners. You have private site evaluations, which that one's not huge, but still the old fee 75 is increasing to $250. Well permits,
well permits,
$35 to $250. It's just they're really large increases. Farmers are really going to be hit hard by this because a lot of farmers have in their like diesel fuel tanks, chemical
Yeah.
storage tanks. They're going from $3,750 a year to $9,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I know, it's laughable. It is laughable. I can't imagine being a legislator that I would actually put my name on this and sponsor it. I mean, but this isn't going to be, we aren't going to see this year.
I can imagine it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're told
There
we're
would
not going
probably
to see it
be
this
some
year.
jumping at it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so we should see this next
The
year. Is that
next year,
correct?
okay.
I mean, I know we saw something come through email, but I'm pretty sure in Joint Sunset where that meeting that Secretary Patterson said that this would be brought forth when we return in January.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he said that.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So some of these fees are just insane, like absolutely insane.
Now, can that be a simple majority, or is it got to be like?
I wouldn't think so. I think it would have to be. You should have the email with a copy of the bill. It should be because there are new fees. And anytime there's a new fee, you have to have a
fees tag. That triggers that.
I mean, 48 new fees.
3/5.
He would have to look to see if it's 3/5 or
3/5. Okay. It's a 3/5. Yep.
Yeah. And then like coastal and mechanical, like the dune restoration. If you're a landowner and you want to do dune restoration, if you live on the beach, it's $150 is the old fee. It's going up to $4,500.
Wow.
I mean, that is a lot of money.
Well, they live on the beach. So.
Yeah, it's yours. So we don't feel sorry for them.
I don't know.
That one's fine.
I mean, think about, though, if you're a family, like I think about Dave Burris, our old chief of staff. I mean, they have a home on the beach that they've inherited from, not everyone that lives on the beach are like people coming here from New York and have lots of money. Some of the people it's generational homes that were passed down to the children. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to paint everyone with a broad brush there, Brian.
Yeah, Brian. God, Senator.
I'm not the one that said that, but it's okay, Deanna.
Yeah, so they had a small business caucus. I think it was today. Was it today or yesterday? Yeah, today. And they were talking about a lot of them. And they actually were discussing the CNBC's poll that I had discussed about how we ranked 46th in business friendliness. And they kind of gave like an overall statistics of other things too. Overall, business-wise, when you take the whole picture, we're still 34th, which is bad.
Yeah, we're in the bottom half.
And then we're 44th when it comes to cost of doing business.
Oh, great! And this is going to be
this is really going to help. Yeah,
actually, they're looking to make us 50th.
I think that's what you're looking. I think we need to tell them we're looking for 1, not 50. That's
we're going
higher the number, the worse. Maybe they don't know that.
This is golf, not bowling.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
Maybe that's just what it is. We need to explain it to them. Maybe they don't know.
Who's below us, by the way? Like when you.
Oh, I didn't have that. I just pulled up the Delaware statistics.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess California.
Well, I mean, that's
Oregon.
at least we're not to be. It's California,
yeah. If I had to guess, it would be those. And Blake might be able to find that for us, that CNBC poll, to see like who was worse than us. But
I'm actually looking. Texas just passed, or the governor just signed SB 29 from the Texas legislature, which is directly in competition to us. And I'm trying to see what it's kind of doing. But I have to do a little bit of digging. Yeah. But it relates to that, the corporation things.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, so I think that's all that I have listed as far as legislation goes. Was there anything that happened this week that you guys want to talk about?
What did happen this week?
So much. It's been a blur.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was just crazy with committees.
It was.
There was a Sunset Committee meeting today that they discussed the EV regs. I'm on Sunset, but I also had Legislative Council at the same time. But I hear that there was a lot of discussion around that. So that's a meeting that we should review for next week to talk about it. I had actually asked Sunset to look at how the EV regs were promulgated, what our electric vehicle infrastructure and all that stuff is. So they came out with a very sizable report. But I want to listen to the discussion that happened in the committee today and find out what happened. But again, I don't think the discussion on EVs is far from over. Especially with what the governor wants to do or has indicated he wants to do, and what might be happening nationally. So
curious to see if you support your bill.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it was another busy week. We've got next week on Monday. DFAC. So people that don't know what DFAC is, the Delaware Economic and Financial Advisory Council. It is the group of lawmakers, members of the executive branch. There's academics there that look at what revenues the state is expected to bring in. So they look at all the economic type forecasts and data and come up with numbers, pretty much of each large category, how much we're going to be expecting in personal income tax, how much we're expecting from the corporate franchise, things all the way down to utility tax, cigarette tax, tobacco tax. And
the sin taxes.
And then, I wonder if marijuana is going to be in there for next year.
Could be.
We
did just appoint
the marijuana commissioner.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're probably going to be
get moving on that.
accelerating on some of those. Some of those permits to open up marijuana
Just
establishments.
keep legalizing sins here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Delaware.
but we'll come up with a number that Joint Finance will use week after next for 2 weeks in the markup, and then we have another DFAC in June that is the final number that we have to base our final budget off of.
Kind of an economic forecast.
Yeah. So in Delaware, we can only appropriate 98% of the expected revenues. So we can't go, above that. So we have to have like a formal resolution that says what these numbers are going to be, and then, everything has to work kind of in conjunction with the DFAC projections.
Yep.
So
So we'll update everyone on those numbers next week.
Mm-hmm.
So something that's not legislatively, our Peyton, our communications assistant, was telling us before we started. She said, "Hey, what's the deal with guys like wanting to go 50-50 on everything now?" And that intrigued me. I'm like, "We'll have to talk about this towards the end of the podcast." I've been married forever, so I don't remember those days. I guess, is this the new thing? Like guys are like 50-50?
Look at me. I've been married for
Yeah.
almost a decade.
So it is Peyton.
Men pay for dates and we'll be like, "You gold digger." Yeah.
what?
Really?
Yeah.
So this is a Gen Z thing.
It
I
is.
guess.
It is. The
No.
modernization of dating.
I'm so sorry, Peyton.
Yeah, it's okay.
So they expect you to pay your way, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. I
They
mean,
ask where their flowers
Oh,
are
equal
at.
rights. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right?
No.
Oh.
but we passed a constitutional amendment that said that equal
Yeah,
rights now.
pretty sure it says it in the Equal Rights Amendment
And it's the
specifically
narrative
that
that's
you
kind
owe
of shoved
50%
down
of
young
the
men's throats
date.
for the
Yeah.
longest time now.
Well, you don't believe in that, do you, Blake?
No.
You don't strike me as a
I was about to
50-50
say, I
guy.
don't think-
No, I pay for just about every day.
There
Now,
you
a couple
go.
of times she will, if it's like ice cream or something like that. And she,
Yeah.
I'm
As
like,
it should
okay,
be.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
They pay for
But
dinner,
most
you pay
of the
for
time,
little sweet
it's
treat.
I'll
Yeah.
get the flowers, I'll pay
Yeah.
for the date, I'll drive the car, and
There we go.
There you go.
I'll pay for
You were
the
Okay.
raised right.
Peyton,
You were raised right.
Are you dating Republican men?
That is a good
That
question.
might be the problem.
I remember for like one of the dates that Ashley and I went on prior to getting Anyway, I forgot my wallet, and so she paid.
Forgot his
Yeah.
wallet.
I, I was
That's a
mortified.
likely
Are
story.
you sure you're not Gen Z?
I've been guilty of that. I've done that.
I don't know. My daughter, she's dating somebody, and he pays for the dates.
He's Republican, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
I think that might be the problem. That's what first question you need to ask.
Like an interview?
the pre-screening
Like, oh, I got
question.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And Matt and I would be happy to pre-screen your dates if you'd like.
No, I will.
First, I have to find some.
Actually, what we have to do, we have to interview them on the pod.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
How would you
then
like that, Peyton?
That would be awesome.
Bring him in like that.
I love that.
All
You'd
right.
be like, so we,
We have some questions for you.
yeah.
Hey,
So
we're
you're
looking.
interested in their
We're looking for some
communications
material for the
assistant.
off session. I think we just found it.
Yeah.
Speed dating on the podcast.
Yeah.
for the record, dating shit.
On location at the Starboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually not a bad idea.
It's not.
So,
You guys are going to pit me
I
out for content.
that's right.
Do you want to date our comms assistant? Well,
There you
come
go.
on, be on the podcast.
There you go.
We'll see.
We'll put an ad out, Peyton.
That's worse.
Oh boy.
I think we're making the senator feel uncomfortable.
No. I'm just thinking. Oh boy. Okay. So, how are we going to do this here?
Oh, okay. He really wants to move forward.
I mean, why not?
In all seriousness, it does seem like the dating scene has changed a lot. So I'm,
Yeah.
I guess about 10, 11 years removed from it.
Yeah.
But just Gen Z dating, it might just be
Even the
post-COVID
terms I
dating,
use,
don't
Matt will be
know.
like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what
Like
you're
I had to
talking
explain the difference between talking and dating, and boyfriend girlfriend. It's all like,
Okay.
about. Yeah, so if
yeah,
you're
exactly.
So if you're just dating now, you might not actually be boyfriend and girlfriend. You call it what, a situation?
A situation.
Situationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of situation.
Okay, I need to be careful because I use that term all the time, and people might think I mean something else. Okay.
Never mind. We're going back
That's
to the
like-
first podcast.
Yeah. Okay, I won't be using situation anymore when I talk about things. Okay. Good to know.
All right.
Interesting.
So, what does
Yeah.
a date look like for someone your age? Like,
A date?
what do kids your age do now?
Kids your age.
I could
we go
literally
to
be
dinner
her
and
mom.
stuff.
Oh, I know.
Literally.
Yeah.
I have a 26, 27-year-old, so I could be your mom. Actually, 28. Sorry,
Thank
Scotty.
you for confirming.
So, yeah. Okay, I just found
No,
that.
so what does it look like now?
I don't know. I mean, I've had the last time
Has it been
I was
that long
supposed to
since
go
you've
on
been
a date. The last time I was
She just
supposed to
gave
go
him a
on
very
date,
dirty look.
He asked me, and he was like, "Okay, so where do you want to go?" And I was like, "Never mind."
Yeah, you want him to. That's right. That's right. You want him to plan.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
"What do you mean?" He
Yeah.
was like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "I could just hang out with my friends then."
Yeah, yeah. I remember my first date with my husband. He showed up to my house with flowers. He had everything planned out. It's like, yeah, that's, I think those days might
Jason's
be
the
gone.
man. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Shout out.
Definitely. He
Shout
is.
out,
He is
Jason.
not.
Good job, bud. Good
He's
job.
not a beta for sure.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna remember that date comment though,
Well, I asked you a question. You're like, I don't remember. I'm like, yeah.
because I didn't go on it.
Well,
Right.
they just you say you didn't go on it. Not all. I don't remember.
All right. They're very techy, so they're going to help you create an online profile, and we're going to
No.
get things rolling. Okay.
You do not want to go into the world of app dating.
No.
I really
No.
am. I am glad. I
It
can't
is
imagine entering the world of dating
terrible.
today. I can't imagine. Yeah.
No
Yeah,
one should
no.
have to.
Mm-mm. No, it's yeah. Anyway,
I actually just saw a TikTok. I don't know what company it was, but it was like having their boss read their dating app responses. It was hilarious.
oh yeah.
It was like a whole series.
Matt would be awesome at that.
Yeah.
Look, he's loving it. Look. All right. So I just thought that'd be a funny little thing to add in
Anything
here.
for content.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the mean tweets.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we got to get back on that. We
did.
I have them all written down.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
I
Yeah.
do.
And I'm sure at some point someone's going to say something mean about Matt and I in the comments, so we can read ours, Matt, because you have all kinds. As being a politician,
I know. Yeah,
people say
whatever.
stuff about you all the time.
Eric's are really good.
Yeah, yeah, Eric. Yeah, they really go after Eric.
They do.
Yeah.
They come in his appearance. They were like, "Oh, you're dyeing your eyebrows now." Like,
In the world.
Okay, well, this conversation has
We've gone
taken
off
a
the
turn.
rails a little bit.
Anyway,
Okay.
well, look, I just when you pulled this, it reminded me. So, we ran a bill today.
Yes.
So
Good
the
bill.
original,
Very-
it's actually a really good
Very
bill.
good bill.
Senate Bill 6, but Senate Bill 6 had an error in what's called the title. So if you pull up a bill like an act to amend Title 8, it said an act to amend Title 18 of the Delaware Code relating to the Delaware Pre-Authorization Act of 2025. The title has to be reflective of what's in here. So Delaware has a requirement that unless it's an appropriation bill, we can't have a bill that does more than one different type of thing. So in Congress, you get these bills that have the pork in there. It has all of those things that do all sorts of stuff. You might have a bill to rename a post office, but you're putting $1 billion into something. We can't do that here in Delaware. So the Senate Bill 6 actually changed Title 18 and Title 29. So they actually had to scrap the bill, do a new bill, which is Senate Bill 12. And as they were doing that, the system that writes the bills, that allows the bills to be printed, everything, had a problem and crashed. So there was an amendment onto the original Senate Bill 6 that they couldn't do.
Oh, so you're going to brag about your creative thinking? I thought you were going to brag about the bill.
No. I'm just saying. This is how.
so what did you think of today, Brian?
No, but this
He
is
did have a good idea.
this is how we do stuff. I mean, if something breaks, instead of just sitting back going, "Oh, we got to wait for the computer guys to fix it," you just take the old bill and you scratch over the numbers, do all that stuff, make copies of it for everybody, and print it out and go with it. So,
Do you want me to pat you on the back? Or you
No,
wanna do it?
no.
Okay.
I'm
It
just
was
saying.
a gold star.
No, this is kind of the stuff. Look, if you run into a problem, you just don't sit and
I agree.
wait. You just try to come up with a solution. Maybe that's my generation.
I was about to say
It
critical
is.
thinking skills have went down.
100%. I agree with that, Brian.
Yeah.
We do, because, I see that all the time.
Yeah, but
We're
you know,
problem solvers.
We're problem
Yeah.
solvers. But I mean, this is something that we came up with today. I mean, everybody was looking like, can we do that? It's like, as long as the body agrees to it, we could do it.
And wasn't it a bunch of lawyers that were sitting around twiddling their thumbs?
Yeah, it kind of was. Yeah.
And Brian to the rescue.
Yeah. But no, I mean, we were able to get it through. Otherwise, it was going to be, we were going to have to wait another at least 45 minutes
Yeah.
because they had to do some kind of script or something.
Which
But
means we would just now be starting our podcast.
So thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Yes, thank you. We
actually.
appreciate
getting
that.
us out early, just being effective.
Thank
But
you. I do
No,
appreciate
it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't as a thing. Look what I did. It was look.
I'm just
Sometimes in this building, as polished as you might think a legislative body is, sometimes we just got to take a pen and scratch out numbers and get stuff done. So
That's right.
yeah, I mean, stuff it's called making the sausage.
Yeah. Well, it's not overthinking something. That's very simple. You know, not to. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Simple.
You think it's overthinking of increasing a DENREC fee from 375 to 20? I'm still hung up on that. That is.
Do you think?
That is.
We'll make a TikTok about it.
I would be embarrassed to even present that to someone and think, "Hey, this is
I got
good
a great idea. Hey, look at this, $20,000 increase for 1 year, not 30.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, let's increase the tank fee from $250 to $500. hold my beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah. I mean, we deal with all kinds of stuff here and see all kinds of crazy stuff, but that's why we do this podcast, to kind of give you an insight as to what happens here at Legislative Hall. So anyway,
behind the scenes look.
Yep. You want to close this out?
Well,
but don't mention the DENREC fee increase while you're closing out.
Try and think of something witty, but it's not coming to me. Anyway, well, thank you to everybody that's been listening and watching. Our audience is actually growing pretty good.
Good.
Maybe
Glad we're not boring everybody to death.
She's over there tapping her fingernails.
I did it in a session yesterday on my camera. And
yeah, she's sitting there, and she's sitting right in front of me, and all I hear is, and it's loud because I don't know. So I'm looking at her. I was like, could you
Today
stop?
on the Senate Republican ASMR podcast. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening, watching. Feel free go to Senate. GOP.Delaware. I can't even talk.
Wow.
SenateGOP.Delaware.gov for more information on our caucus in general. Of course, all of our social media pages are linked in the description.
DelawareSenate.com too.
We do still have that.
DelawareSenate.com.
Brian, you were solving all kinds of problems today.
Well, that's a. Are we allowed to talk?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
DelawareSenate.com.
Yeah.
For more information.
If we can talk about
they bought this.
dating, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
That's on you guys.
It's on him.
It's on me.
That's
Whatever.
right. Yeah, they can't fire you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for listening and watching.
All right.
See you next week.
Yeah.